gonna call this the core 4 leg stretches everybody should be doing all of their life. Do you know what the 4 major muscle groups of your legs that you should stretch almost on a daily basis? Most people don't. It's the quads, it's the hamstrings, it's the glutes, and it's the hip flexors. I'm gonna show you very quickly how to hit all 4. Most people know how to stretch their hamstring, but my least favorite is just bending forward and flexing. I feel like that stretches out your back too much. We flex, we round out too much as it is. So how do you stretch your hamstring without hurting your spine? Ideally, just to use this for demonstration purposes, you put your leg up on something. I like higher up is better. I don't have to lean forward as much. Now there's 2 ways to stretch the hamstring. Actually, there's more than 2 ways, but I'm only gonna teach you 2 ways. The point being is don't just stretch it one way. Legs straight, keep your back straight, and lean forward, and you feel the hamstring stretch. I like to go in and out of the stretch. I don't like to hold it or force it. All of our stretches are flow-based, meaning you move in and out of the stretch. Things lengthen, things shorten. It's much better for you. So I'll usually do 5 to 10 times of that and switch legs. Notice my leg is straight. If you bend your knee a little bit and lean forward and move your hips around, you're gonna feel a different kind of stretch in a totally different area of your hamstring. Kind of important to stretch the whole thing out, not just a piece of it. So leg straight, you're gonna feel a little more of a stretch down towards the knee. Leg bent, you're gonna feel a stretch a little higher up. Very important to do both and maybe move around and get a couple other angles as well. That's your hamstring. The opposite muscle of the hamstring is the quadriceps. How do you stretch that? All kinds of different ways. One way is just to simply grab your leg and do that. Most people, when they do that, they tend to lean forward. You're not gonna feel much of a stretch there. You gotta keep straight and keep your hips underneath you and push forward, and that's where you feel the stretch. You can also be down on the ground doing this or holding on to something ideally and stretching your leg out. Hip flexors and glutes. These are big muscles back here. They definitely influence your back, and if you don't take care of them, this is never gonna get better or stay better. So one of the best ways to stretch out that is sitting down in a chair, your work chair. Ideally, your ankle should be on your leg. And keep straight, don't round forward. And then just lean forward and you'll feel a stretch. Other options, you can push the knee down a little bit. You're gonna feel that more in the joint. My favorite version is pulling the knee up to the chest and then changing angles. Sometimes pulling it up to here is one part of the muscle. Sometimes pulling it over here, different part of the muscle. Sometimes pulling it over there, different part of the muscle, different part of the hip. That's how we get rid of a lot of hip issues and back issues and take good care of ourselves so we can keep moving for the rest of our lives. Pulse, in and out, flow. Stretch it out, relax it. 5 to 10 times for everything. And of course, always do both sides. The opposite muscle of the glute is the hip flexor. Because everybody tends to lean forward or sit and work at a computer, everything gets short and tight here and nobody knows how to stretch that out. So my favorite way is to take something, put it on the ground, a pad, a cushion, and just simply kneel down. And then lean forward and you can feel that space open up, which is the exact opposite of when you're sitting. It's a closed angle. That's an opened angle. That's a short, angry, tight muscle that makes you feel old. This is an opened up, stretched, happy muscle that makes you feel young and keeps you moving like you're young. You go in and out of that stretch. If you do it like this, you're not gonna feel much because you're taken away from the stretch. If you arch back, you might hurt your back. Just simply stay vertical and tall. Keep your hips underneath you so you're squeezing your butt, pushing your hips forward, and then just lunge forward in and out of the stretch. And like with all stretches that we teach, not in this video, we didn't cover it all, always change your angles. So simply doing this way is good enough, but doing this way and stretching the inside is even better. And just feeling different angles of stretch. The more angles, the more often you stretch, the looser you get, the looser you stay, the better you move, the better you live. Ideally, I stretch out before all physical activity, whether it's in the office or especially before physical fitness. Most people were taught incorrectly, in my opinion, to stretch out after they work out. That's why most people don't, because they're too short on time. They have to get to work or get on to the next task in their life. If you force yourself to stretch out at least 5 to 10 minutes before you work out, you, like me, will notice that you probably stretch out more often, more consistently, and therefore benefit from it. A more advanced understanding is you're going to tighten up after a hike, after a walk, after a run, after going to the gym. You don't want to stretch out as you're tightening up. You want to circle back a little later on after the event, a couple hours later, and re-stretch out and loosen up what has been growing tight and short for the last couple hours after the activity. That's what allows you to wake up the next day feeling a little bit better than if you don't do that. That's the 4 major muscle groups of the legs. If you have any other questions, just ask us. We're here to help you. I like to close every video with this last piece of advice. Get you, the people you care about, friends and family, involved with a good wellness-based doctor of chiropractic, because they can do things for you and teach you things that nobody else can.